Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Bowling University studio here in the International Bowling Campus in Arlington, Texas. I'm Bart Berger, and I'll be your host for this edition of the Bowling University Tuesday Morning Profit Break. Thank you for joining us. The Tuesday Morning Profit Break is an opportunity for sharing insights on how to grow revenue, reduce costs, enrich yourself, your team, and your business. Welcome to our new viewers, and welcome back to all of you joining us again. Thank you all for taking a few minutes out of your busy day. We have another great show ready for you. Grab your coffee or your favorite morning beverage, and let's get started improving your profitability. Today we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Bob Pakanowski. He's an entrepreneur with over 25 years, primarily in the hospitality industry. Bob has walked more than a mile in our shoes. He's done every job in the companies he's owned and operated, and has experienced both the highs and the lows when it comes to business. So what do 25 National Pro Football Hall of Fame induction parties and creating over 7,000 meetings and events all have in common? Well, all of them have received the black tie experience courtesy of today's guest. Now, Bob has achieved professional member status in the National Speakers Association and has spoken to companies and conferences on the national, state, and regional level. He, of course, is a great friend to the bowling industry, speaking at Bowl Expo on multiple occasions and over 14 of our national state associations. Bob, welcome in studio. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Bart. It is great to be on campus. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks. So, hey, let's dig right in. Yep. You know, we're coming out of this pandemic, and all of us around the country are in a different place, but so many of us count on that group booked in corporate business. Kind of the big question, let's start with the elephant in the room. Is there even a market for that product in 2021?
Bart, I think there is. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is that, think about this. Most groups, private groups, personal groups, they've been cooped up for the last year. They haven't been able to get out. Corporations haven't gone to conferences. And so there's money there. And what I've done my research on and talking with people is that companies want to get meaningful connections back with people. And one way to do that is by bringing them together for events. In fact, what I'm going to share later, too, in the management school, but there is a trend right now. The number one trend for company events in 2021 is what's called micro events, micro experiences. Now, Bart, it's a fancy way to say small events, but that's okay. Why not say micro events? Because think about it, for your centers, these are those events that are between 11 to 50 people, which is a perfect size for what your centers can accommodate.
Awesome. Now, Bob, I know that in your space you've done some research. You've talked to folks that normally we don't get to talk to a lot, meeting planners, and you've got some research for them. So what are you hearing from those folks and what they're looking for as we get into this new category that you've branded for us, this micro events?
Well, sure. So safety is still the number one priority. Companies especially want to make sure that they're bringing 25, 30 people into your center. Are all the protocols still being followed? Cleaning, sanitizing. If your state has a mask mandate, those things that are important for companies. Because one of the good things now is that as more and more people are getting vaccinated, they're wanting to come out, but they want to make sure that those protocols are really still in place. The second thing, what I've heard from meeting planners is the word flexibility. Are your centers flexible when it comes to contracts, when it comes to rescheduling policies? What's your policy for a date that has been scheduled, but now all of a sudden it has to be rescheduled? And then thirdly, it's that dedicated space. So let's say, for example, that if a group or a company has 20 people and they book lanes 1 to 8 in your center, is that a dedicated space for that group? So that means, is there dedicated signage so that that group knows and everybody else knows who's there? And is there dedicated staffing so that that group or company knows that, hey, these are the 2, 3, however many staff people that are going to be working my event, and these are the people that I can see for the next 2 or 3 hours, and only these people. So protocols, flexibility, dedicated space.
Great tips. I love that flexibility. I think it's something very important for us to keep in mind as we're continuing forward. So let's dig a little deeper with these meeting planners, because you have got some insight that's incredible with them. Are there any other hot buttons? I mean, when these people that are decision makers that are making the decision to pick one venue over another, is there some additional hot buttons you can share with us that maybe these folks are going through in their minds in the decision-making process?
Absolutely. So one of the things, or a couple things that I heard from my meeting planners is in terms of staffing. Do you have enough staff for my event? Now, we know staffing right now can be a challenge for a lot of the centers, but they want to know that if they're bringing 30, 40, 50 people to your center, that you're not going to be short-staffed. So staffing is important. And then is the staff, again, based on your state, are they following all the protocols? Do they have masks on the whole time? What do the food and beverage options look like? Are they being prepackaged? There's some really great things you can do with prepackaged food. Or are you putting up the plexiglass if you're going to do a buffet? And for the centers, what I would recommend is to get high-quality pictures of what you're going to be presenting to your clients so that they can visually see, oh, you know what? Yes, I have peace of mind. And then, do I have enough space for my group? That's what meeting planners are asking. So maybe that means, do you have an outdoor space that you can also use? Because they don't want to put 30 people into a space and people are walking all over each other. So these are just a few of the hot buttons that these planners are asking and keeping in mind. Because think about this, for a company, Bart, you got 20 different personalities. So you got people who are willing to go out. Some people may be a little hesitant, but if you could reassure those meeting planners, hey, we're doing everything possible, we're going to take care of it for you.
Yeah, that's great insights. And it's refreshing, it's exciting, it's exhilarating to know that people in this space that are responsible for the planning are asking these questions. They are inquisitive, and they are eager in this controlled environment to do the things you mentioned. It's fantastic. So let's flip the script a little bit, because you shared with some incredible insight on the meeting planners, but I know you did some research with the venues themselves. So what did you hear from venues like ours that are getting the calls and the inquiries, and what are the questions that they're being asked, as we turn around from the venue perspective?
Sure. So one of the first questions that they ask is, what's your venue look like? I mean, do you have all the protocols in place? How are you setting and cleaning, the room? So, and it's, or we can say all we want. Oh, yeah, we have all the cleaning, sanitizing. But flying here yesterday, I'm on the airplane, and here's a video being shown of people sanitizing the airplane. Well, for me, as a consumer, that's that peace of mind now. Like, oh, wait a minute. So they're actually doing it. They're not only saying they're doing it, but they're actually, because I can physically see them doing it. So things like that. What is your cancellation policy like? Venues are getting that asked now because, they can schedule something, say, for July 4th. And all of a sudden, June 28th, here comes an outbreak or whatever it is. So what's your cancellation policy? And are deposits required? The answer, by the way, to that, folks, is yes. Please get deposits. You don't want to be stuck because you can reschedule that with your client. And then lastly, and I experienced this when I was even back when I was running my companies, is what's your policy towards late changes? So, but even more so now because of this pandemic, people are saying, well, Bart, I have 30 people. Oh, wait a minute, Bart, I now have 24. What can you do? So make sure that it's in your contracts and on your BEOs that here are our policies concerning late orders, cancellation, all those things.
Yeah, that is some great stuff. Now, I love what you mentioned about flexibility, but still a commitment and requiring a deposit. And I think it's important for our viewers to understand that it's okay to get that deposit and still be flexible. They're not mutually exclusive, so I love that. So, Bob, that's some great insight. Let's sneak in one more question here this morning, and that is any tips that you can share with the audience, kind of outside-the-box thinking on how to attract and connect with these people that are thinking about having these micro or these events going forward?
Yes. So a couple things. So one of the questions that I asked is, what from marketing will attract you to the venue? And two things I heard, Bart, were, number one, high quality photo images, okay, and video. Getting video of your space so that if you have the plexiglass or whatever those is, those are two things that people want to see. Then let's talk about outside the box. I mean, you have this space, you have food, you have bar. What about doing beer tastings, wine tastings, bourbon tastings? What goes better with bowling than beer or bourbon?
Nothing.
That's right. Absolutely. So what do you think about, well, because now the craft brewery market is big. Bring in some of those craft brewers. Let them get some exposure at your center. Do a beer tasting. You got 12, 15 people, 20 people, and now they're in there. Your people are bowling. They're having beer, bourbon. Oh, well, Bob, we have a lot of ladies. Great. Bring in some wine tasting. So those are just some things. And then can you put up a tent in your parking lot? Can you have a dedicated outdoor space that people can go to? Because those meeting planners maybe will want that. And then the last thing is, we're going back to that dedicated staff person. What if, and this isn't outside the box, but what if you have a training certification program right now for your staff that they have been certified during this pandemic on how to achieve that customer service excellence? You know how many of your competition are doing that? None. No one's doing that. And that gives that assurance, that confidence to that meeting planner. You know what? The staff's going to know how to take care of us and to exceed our expectations.
Yeah, great. So great tactics and also some great insight and strategy on what people are thinking that are planning and hosting there. So Bob, can't thank you enough for stopping by the campus today and being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome, as always. Well, hey, folks, if you'd like to connect with Bob and learn more about his black tie experience, you can visit his website at bobpakanowski.com. So as we wrap up another edition of the Tuesday Morning Profit Break, remember that when your focus is on growing people, people will grow your business.